There's nothing in the Dead Sea Scrolls saying, we are the Essenes. There are some little clues that might indicate that there was some kind of term that was like Essenes in Hebrew, but it's really, really debated. It seems that other people called them Essenes, and this term is used by two ancient Jewish writers, Philo and Josephus.
Among themselves, the residents of Qumran had another name, Yahad, a Hebrew word that means community. They also referred to themselves as the Sons of Light and the Sons of Zadok, referring to the high priest who anointed King Solomon.
They are the ones who are on the side of light and rejecting the way of darkness. It's a very dualistic way of thinking. You're either in or you're out. You're on the side of God or you're on the side of Satan. So they saw themselves as on the side of God.
To the Essenes, the side of darkness included the Roman occupiers of Judea, as well as the leaders of their own temple. Before the Babylonian exile, the high priests of Jerusalem had been descendants of the Old Testament priest Zadok. But when the Greeks and Romans conquered Judea, they installed their own priests, whom the Essenes viewed as illegitimate and corrupt.
We know that many of them came from that level of high priesthood and very high-rank families, but they have decided to leave the corruption behind them and to come over here and to wait to the Messiah.
Ancient historians wrote that many of the Essenes formed a community here in Qumran, by the shores of the Dead Sea. The group had a dual focus, preserving the Hebrew scriptures and preparing for the arrival of the Messiah.
So they went out there in preparation for the great and terrible day of the Lord that was going to come. That's why they were out there in the first place. There may have been an Essene quarter in Jerusalem. We have some evidence of that, so that not all of the Essene sect withdrew to the desert.
They live in Jerusalem, they live in other parts of Judea. They don't just live out in the wilderness. They're very involved in Judean politics. But they are antagonistic to the people who run the temple. They are like an opposition party. They're not in control.
This was, if you will, their special holiday camp, where some went to become more spiritual and more learned in the scriptures and more pure, to get away from corruption in Jerusalem and elsewhere.
These are people who are particularly concerned about the right interpretation of law, separating yourself to some degree from the rest of the community to live your life in a way that is more ascetic, and seeing life being about really holding on to God's law, interpreting it quite strictly, living a life of purity, really being careful about the Sabbath, holding the name of Moses in a very cherished position. So everything about life is interpreted in the stricter way.